Before we begin, the name is placed on the top right side of the screen. At a magnificent royal ball, some women are talking about who will be the Lady of the Year this year. A young girl with red hair says that obviously there will not be any Lady of the Year because His Majesty will appear along with the Empress, and the Crown Prince has been away for a considerable amount of time participating in a monster subjugation. So there will be no lady entering with members of the royal family this year. With that being said, one of the ladies raises her hand and asks, "Isn't it true that Lord Luciel of the Magic Tower is also a member of the royal family?" The lady with the red hair informs them that he will not be attending the event. She believes that these are some women from distant academies who are completely ignorant. She tells these ladies that since Luciel suffers from magic reflux disease, which causes him to easily go berserk, it is only natural that he is the only member of the royal family to be a victim of this condition. As a result of this, he is banished to the Magic Tower, where he is only officially known as the Grand Duke. In light of the fact that he is the most tragic member of the royal family, it is inconceivable that he would show up to an event of this nature. The ladies admit that they do not know a great deal about the capital, and one of the ladies reveals to them that Lord Roderick has informed her that His Highness Grand Duke Luciel is going to be coming as Lady Daphne's partner. The young lady is unable to believe her eyes when she sees them approaching, and she asks herself, how could this possibly be possible? Lady Daphne is someone that the other ladies are looking forward to seeing. On the other hand, Daphne is thinking that it is normal for everyone to discover something unexpected. She is known by the name Daphne Peregrine, and she is the Villainess from the R-rated dark romance novel. When the goddess went to war to expel the demons, she was accompanied by 4 heroes: Gracebell of Peace, Carohan of Justice, Evans of Strength, and the Watcher of the Demon. Every one of these heroes was successful in their mission. They are known to possess either exceptional magical power or the ability to slay monsters with their powerful swordsmanship skills. The descendants of the Peregrine family are known to possess either of these abilities. Surprisingly, however, Daphne does not possess any magical power at all. In addition, her mother, Amelia, took her own life while she was giving birth to her. During the time that the Duke was grieving over the death of his wife, he paid no attention to his daughter. Daphne was under the impression that becoming a saint would liberate her from all humiliations. The malicious behavior that she exhibits towards everyone around her, regardless of who they are, has earned her a reputation for being notorious. As a result of her reputation for causing trouble wherever she went, she was eventually exiled to a territory that was completely isolated. There is a difference between the story of Daphne in the original novel and the story that is told now. After Luciel has moved closer to Daphne, he informs her that everyone is staring at them in an extremely intense manner. According to Daphne, she is aware that this is the reason why she went to this party in the first place. On the other hand, his voice appears to be more accustomed to the attention than he anticipated it would be. In spite of the fact that she had this as her objective, it is still overwhelming and nerve-wracking. Luciel, on the other hand, is informed by her that jealousy is not permitted. Nothing is said by him. As she apologizes, Daphne explains that this location is a party venue as well as a place where people can meet and mingle with one another. Luciel, on the other hand, expresses his desire that no one else would catch a glimpse of Daphne. Despite the fact that it appears that she is not falling for it, he is extremely uncomfortable with the fact that those guys are showing interest in her. In any case, Daphne claims that she would not have been able to go to this party in the first place if Luciel had not been her partner for the evening. Consequently, what this indicates is that Luciel is the reason she is able to receive the attention she does and the opportunity to announce her return to the capital, and she is extremely grateful to him for this situation. After listening to this, Luciel experiences some feelings of emotion. Daphne begins to feel concerned and inquires of Luciel whether he is experiencing any pain once more. She then offers to go and get some medication for him. Nevertheless, Luciel is holding her hand and stating that he is simply imagining that he is falling in love with her once more. At the party, all Daphnes are simping over them. On the other hand, Daphne thinks that the only thing that matters to her is whether or not Luciel is content. Particularly noteworthy is the fact that she has made it through this far and has made her way back to the capital with the Magic Tower Master serving as her companion. As of this moment, she thinks that it is prudent to steer clear of the conclusion of the first novel, which depicts her passing away in a prison. Now all she needs to do is wait and see if the original protagonist makes an appearance or not. In this life, she has made the decision to take pleasure in everything before she passes away. As the dance begins, Luciel asks Daphne if she will dance with him. He inquires about how her first royal ball is going. She claims that it is precisely what she imagined. To say that it is magnificent and magnificent is an understatement. Luciel mutters in her ear that he continues to harbor the hope that she will continue to consider him to be so magnificent. Daphne becomes agitated as a result of this, and she informs Luciel that anyone and everyone is watching. Luciel, on the other hand, is unfazed by it, and he has stated that he will not be concerned about the gazes of other people if they are watching, in the belief that he is a truly one-of-a-kind character. It goes without saying that she is also a very noticeable presence in this world. To tell you the truth, in her previous life, she was a typical South Korean girl born and raised. The fact of the matter is that her grandmother was a very strict person when she was born. When Daphne was on the verge of being accepted to college, her grandmother asked, "What are they going to do about the twins if she goes to college?" Even worse, she did not graduate with the highest possible rank, which means that she is not eligible for a scholarship. The advice that her father gave her was that she ought to make sacrifices for her younger brothers. She was treated with the same indifference by both her biological father and her stepmother, the fact that she was constantly frustrated by that. All throughout her life, she had the notion that once she was hired, she would sever all ties with her family. As a result of her dogged determination, she was able to secure admission to a reputable university and graduate with credit standing. She was able to secure an internship at a major pharmaceutical company as a result of your efforts. In the hopes of securing a full-time position, she put in extra hours of work late at night in the hope of winning the competition that was held within the company. The submission of the contest material through manager Kim, on the other hand, was completely inappropriate. Her idea was stolen by Kim, and she was not only unable to secure the full-time position, but she was also terminated from her internship. But when it was all said and done, nobody cared about the truth. When compared to the process of disciplining a full-time employee, the company found it much simpler to terminate an intern. As she was making her way back to the house while holding a bottle of soju in her hand, she received messages from her twin brothers. They informed her that it was Grandma's birthday today, but that she had not yet arrived. It had a very negative impact on the atmosphere at home. Because the adults were asking, they also inquired as to whether or not she had any money. In addition, Twin once stated that he required financial assistance in order to visit the computer room. "What a thing to stake her for an automated teller machine," she asked, expressing her irritation. She was struck by a truck as she attempted to cross the road in this state before she was killed. Suddenly, everything came to an end, or at least that was what she believed to be the case. However, when she opened her eyes, she was confronted with a completely different world. A magnificent room that did not resemble a hospital at all was where she found herself when she awoke. In an attempt to comprehend whether or not she was still alive, she moved her hand and expressed gratitude to God for the fact that she was still alive. Therefore, the next thought that comes to mind is, where exactly is she? Someone from the staff walks into Daphne's room all of a sudden and inquires as to whether or not she is awake. In spite of this, Daphne felt as though her throat was on fire as she attempted to respond. Due to the fact that the poison had not been completely neutralized, the servant advised her to refrain from speaking. Because she had been struck by a car and not poisoned, she was unable to comprehend what the servant was saying with regard to the situation. After that, she became aware of her surroundings and turned her gaze to the mirror that was situated on the bedside table. It came to her attention that she had pink hair. The statement that Daphne made was that something was wrong, and she needed to see what she looked like. She got to her feet and looked in the mirror, attempting to see herself. When she looked in the mirror, she was taken aback to see that the reflection she saw was not her own. She pondered the question of who she was and where she was located. She inquired as to whether or not she was okay. All of a sudden, Daphne experienced a severe headache, and she was able to see the memories of herself. It was reported that the youngest daughter of Peregrine had passed away during the process of giving birth. If it weren't for the fact that she gave birth to Daphne, she would have lived. It was said that Daphne is a natural-born villain, that she is incompetent, and that she is extremely possessive of her fiancé when she is with him. Her fiancé, on the other hand, had feelings for the Saintess rather than Daphne, and as a result, she was accused of poisoning the Saintess and sentenced to imprisonment. The memories that Daphne Peregrine had were as described here. It dawned on Daphne that she is the same person as Daphne from the book Seducing the Saintess, which she had read in the past. There is a possibility that she has relocated within the pages of the book. She is the villain who, because she was blinded by love, attempted to poison the Saintess, and she ends up being the only person who survives their attempt. I had a terrible life in the past, and it does not appear that this one is any better. Suddenly, a man entered her room and inquired as to whether or not she had awakened. The fact that she attempted to take her own life, according to him, has brought their family an adequate amount of shame. Is she not experiencing any feelings of regret for the family that brought her up? If Daphne's recollection serves her correctly, she believes that this individual holds the position of Daphne's uncle, the next Duke Laius Peregrine. Laius Peregrine is the little duke who, as a knight and scholar, is called an authority at the Academy of the imperial capital. He detested Daphne, who was responsible for the death of his sister. Daphne believes that she was a fool to believe that he would one day behave in a more appropriate manner, despite the fact that his behavior was typically inappropriate. At that moment, Laius yells at Daphne, telling her that she is abandoning herself because Prince Roderick has caused her pain. It was at that precise moment that her fiancé began an affair, and she ended up killing herself by poisoning herself. What is it about this fleeting feeling of love that compels her to make sacrifices? She wonders the question. Despite having everything she could possibly want, she still attempted to take her own life, which was the most incomprehensible part of that book. Daphne is perplexed as to why, out of all the people, she was the one who possessed this body. Her uncle, on the other hand, claims that this is his final act of mercy. The punishment that he will impose on her will be decided at a later time. He hurls a bottle of medicine in Daphne's direction and declares that he will no longer tolerate her pitiful behavior and that there will be no more opportunities in the future. He tells Daphne that from this point forward, she will not leave this mansion until the Duke comes back. He says that she will not even leave the house. Subsequently, Daphne arrives at the house of her dreams. So that Daphne can fulfill her goal of becoming a saint, she has constructed her very own greenhouse within the mansion in order to cultivate a wide variety of herbs. Daphne enjoys this, and then she notices that she is wondering how she could have created a poison in such an environment. Afterward, she locates a lamp in order to illuminate the area. She believes that the medicine that Laius prescribed partially neutralized the poison. However, it did not completely detoxify the poison, which means that she requires additional medications. She believes that if it were the real Daphne, she would most likely not make an antidote. But what is happening now is a completely different story. Her experience includes 5 years of working at a traditional medicine clinic, which she did on a part-time basis in order to fulfill her obligation to pay for her education. The customers were able to benefit from her assistance. She has a remarkable ability to memorize all of the herbs and medicines, and her prescription and application skills are also outstanding. Not surprising that the director thought of her as a priceless asset. When he saw how hard she worked, he decided to increase her hourly wage so that she could continue working. They even offered Daphne a full-time position before she quit, but she turned it down because she had already secured a position with a pharmaceutical company after she left her previous job. On the other hand, she gained a lot from the experience, and as a result, she is now able to recognize the majority of the herbs even when she is blindfolded. All she can do is hope that there are herbs that are comparable to those she used in her previous life. In an instant, she becomes aware of the sounds of children playing, prompting her to open the door and begin searching the corridors. The hallway is filled with 2 young boys who are running, and all of a sudden, one of them hits Daphne, causing both of them to fall to the ground. Daphne inquires as to the reason for their haste in the corridor. As this is going on, the other boy arrives and inquires about his brother Yuli's well-being and whether or not he is able to stand. Yuli gets to her feet and declares that everything is fine. The characters in question are twins named Hermano and Yuli Peregrine, who appear in the book. Laius and Daphne's cousins are the parents of these 2 children. Due to the fact that Laius's wife passed away not long after giving birth to the twins, the children were never able to experience the affection of their father. They will eventually meet the female protagonist of the book, and it is then that they will experience love for the very first time. They will become her little heroes. Daphne is under the impression that she is connected to twins in not only her previous life, but also in this one. While Daphne makes an effort to apologize to them, the twins insist that it is the witch who is to blame. At this point, Daphne has come to the realization that these children fit the description of little demons because they are notoriously known as little devils. Yuli tells Daphne that she ought to have been attentive to the direction in which she was going in inquiries as to whether or not witches do not possess eyes. Daphne is enraged by this, and she suggests that they should examine the manner in which they communicate with their sister. On the other hand, the twins assert that they did not make any false statements. On the other hand, Daphne believes that if they had not stuttered before speaking, it would have sounded more plausible. It is amusing to see how they are terrified but are acting as if they are not. Their presence brings to mind the twin she had in a previous life. Due to the fact that Daphne raises her hand, the twins are under the impression that she is going to slap them. However, she instead pats their heads. She is of the opinion that these children are very cute. When she tells the twins that she will let them go this time, she warns them that they should never again mess with her behavior. A storm of affection ensues between the twins as a result of this, and although they are obviously blushing, they are required to act tough. Daphne's hand is pushed away and they leave, claiming that the poison that this witch is spreading is infectious. Daphne, on the other hand, is beaming and believes that they are much younger than her twin brothers, even to the point where they are comparable to small dogs. Upon closer inspection, it is hard to deny that they are adorable. Two of the maids appear out of nowhere and begin searching for the boys. They receive information from Daphne regarding the path that the twins were taking. She is aware of the fact that raising twins is a tough job, and as she gives the directions to the maids, they also start running. Daphne wonders if it is a common practice for people in this location to run around the hallways. This is a very different experience from what she had expected. Daphne had tried to make the antidote with the same herbs that were given in the reference book. It was finally time for her to make the potion. Despite the fact that it appeared to be terrifying, she decided that she should consume it. Upon consuming the liquid, she became aware that it lacked any discernible flavor, and she also noticed that the level of pain had significantly decreased. The greenhouse was suddenly occupied by a female individual. She gave Daphne a hug and then inquired as to whether or not she was aware of how much she had been concerned about Daphne. Nevertheless, Daphne was unable to identify her, so the woman approached her and informed her that she was Floa, her most beloved instructor. In the event that it was Floa Charlatael, the former Empress Hela, Daphne considered the possibility. Hela was turned down by Daphne's grandfather, who is now the Duke Peregrine, when she was a young girl. To this day, she harbored resentment toward the Peregrine family because she was unable to get over the humiliation she had experienced. She made the most of the opportunity that presented itself when the Duke's family was infiltrated by the image of Daphne playing a villainous role. She stated that poison was discovered at her banquet, and because Daphne had participated in herbalism classes, she accused her of being responsible for this. She made a request to the security personnel to hold her until they discovered evidence. Hela asserted that the circumstantial evidence from her previous transgressions was overwhelming, despite the fact that there was no physical evidence being presented at this time. She needs to appoint a reliable person to keep an eye on her in order to prevent her from engaging in such behavior again. Therefore, the Empress dispatched her spy, Floa Charlatael, to the Duke's household. She did this under the guise of providing reformation. Daphne was of the opinion that these adults acted like children. Why are they being so insulting to her grandfather? What is it about love that makes it so wonderful? She had the impression that the original Daphne must have been in a state of profound disbelief when Prince Roderick announced that they were breaking up. The hand of Daphne was held by Floa, who assured her that she would assist her with everything. All she needed to do was continue to act in accordance with what she had been saying, and she would transform into a saint and win back the affection of her fiancé. The fact that Floa was looking at Daphne's face in such close proximity made her feel uneasy. Floa, on the other hand, expressed that she was relieved that her face had not been injured in any way. Floa stated that Daphne's reputation had been tarnished for a considerable amount of time. However, fortunately, she still possessed her outstanding beauty, and she must rely on that asset that she still possessed. She advised Daphne that she should put in a lot of effort to improve her own visual appeal because it was something that men appreciated. It was imperative that she was beautiful if she wanted to regain Roderick's affection at this point in her life. Daphne, on the other hand, was curious about the fact that this individual had come to see her, but she did not inquire about her health. In the meantime, she pondered whether or not Floa was attempting to comfort her by treating her as if she were one of their products. Daphne was asked to look in the mirror by Floa, who then proceeded to tell her that Roderick could not help but love who she was. She requested that Daphne have faith in her and adhere to what she had stated. On the other hand, Daphne believed that these words might have been effective up until this point. However, she could not continue to tolerate being treated like a tool any longer. She had seen enough of it. As she spoke to Floa, Daphne referred to her as Grandma and advised her to pay attention to herself as well. Due to the fact that she just stated that men are attracted to women who have a good appearance, it is imperative that she also take care of herself personally. There was no way that Floa could believe what Daphne was saying. Daphne expressed her regret and inquired as to whether or not she was her grandmother. She claimed that she had just woken up and that her memories were all out of whack. She recalled a grandmother who had given her advice in the past, and she herself had made some errors. At this point, she was discussing her grandmother from a previous life. Flo, on the other hand, was not old enough to be considered a grandmother, and she was extremely sensitive about the fact that she was a single woman. Despite the fact that this must have been a blow to her pride, she would only look foolish if she became angry with Daphne. What it would be like to be put down by Daphne, whom she detested, was something that Daphne pondered. Flo, on the other hand, stated that it appeared as though Daphne was not in her right mind. With a smile on her face, she expressed her gratitude to Daphne for being concerned about her, but her mouth was revealing how angry she was. Despite the fact that it was a natural response for a student, Daphne advised her not to say it in that manner. With that being said, the shop that she frequented paid particular attention to the presence of her family members when they came to visit. Therefore, she inquired of Flo whether or not she would be interested in accompanying her. Daphne believed that by this point, Flo's mind must be preoccupied with a single thought, that this girl was insane, intending to drag her along, and believing that she was her grandmother. Standing behind Flo were also the servants who were present. Not only did she request that they leave, but she also assured them that she would handle the other efforts. Her appreciation to Flo and recalled the act of kindness that she had displayed. The events that had taken place with Daphne, who was a very submissive person, were beyond Flo's ability to comprehend. She was curious as to whether or not there had been a sudden change in an aspect of the situation. In spite of this, she made the decision to leave because she was under the impression that it was extremely important for her to keep an eye on Daphne. During this time, Daphne was under the impression that her throat was not in any way experiencing any kind of discomfort. As she contemplated the subsequent actions that she ought to take, she was relieved that she had, for the time being, prevented her death. If she pretended to be in a good mood, there was a greater chance that she would be granted a probation order to a remote territory. She was under the impression that if she established a quiet existence on the periphery, the members of her family would eventually forget about her if she left them alone. She was under the impression that she would be able to lead a solitary existence in a tranquil setting that featured mountains, water, and air of superior quality, and that because of her notorious nature, no one would make an effort to annoy her. As a result of the fact that she considered that to be such a wonderful thing, she made the decision to live her life as a privileged villainess. Luciel, who was present in the magic tower at the time, was pondering whether or not there was anything that could be considered exciting. The following day, the twins were pursuing Daphne along with her. Daphne inquired about the things that they desired from her. Recent statements made by them indicated that they were not following her, but rather simply passing by. Daphne, on the other hand, did not believe them and stated that they have to be involved in this situation in some way. Daphne inquired as to whether or not they made it to the library as well. What Yuli said was correct. They had arrived at the library with the intention of reading books. Then they made a mad dash to the entrance of the library before Daphne. On the other hand, Daphne thought that they were simply adorable, and when she entered the library, she thought that it appeared to be a movie or a well-known library from another country. As a matter of fact, the twins were also present in the library with her. In a world where computers did not exist, the young lady could not believe that the books were arranged alphabetically in the library, despite the fact that she was thinking that the library was very, very clean. She took a seat on a sofa sitting next to the fireplace and picked up a book. She reflected on the fact that she had always imagined herself curled up with a book by the fireplace, and the fact that she was actually able to do it was incredible. She then made the decision to immerse herself in the book, but she was unable to ignore the fact that the twins were looking at her. She then inquired as to whether or not they would be interested in reading together, but the twins refused to acknowledge her request and stated that they always read by the fireplace. On the other hand, Daphne made the offer for them to sit next to her because the space was currently vacant and there was sufficient space for the two of them to comfortably sit. In addition, the twins had chosen their books and sat down next to Daphne, stating that if she truly desired to sit with them, then it was acceptable for them to do so as well. On the other hand, this was only for this one occasion. In general, they did not read with other people. In a mocking tone, Daphne stated that it was an honor and that she would write about it in her diary tonight, despite the fact that she did not keep a journal. While she was reading about herbs, she discovered that the herbs that were present in this life were unquestionably comparable to those that she had used in her previous life. Despite the fact that she was aware of aristocratic characteristics, she needed more experience. She was under the impression that these children were very quiet, and it was possible that they were sleeping. Then, however, she became aware that Yuli was concentrating on his book. She had the impression that he was merely stating that, but in reality, he was a huge fan of reading. Therefore, she made the decision to investigate the type of book that he was reading, and she was taken aback to discover that it was a very challenging book on magic knight theory, which she was unable to wrap her head around. Due to the fact that Daphne was unable to comprehend the type of book that he was reading, she pondered whether or not he was actually a child or whether he was also possessed. Because he looked so much like Laius, she began to wonder if he was simply exceptionally bright. The only thing that was bothering her was his future. After that, she made the decision to check out what Hermana was reading, and she discovered that he was reading a book about mythology. Therefore, she came to the conclusion that he had an interest in mythology. During the time that Daphne was attempting to look at his book, he timidly shut it. It was Daphne who apologized, stated that the book appeared to be interesting, and inquired as to whether or not he actually enjoyed the book. Yuli stated that his brother's favorite book in the entire world was this particular book. Therefore, Daphne inquired of Hermana which character in the book he liked the most, to which Yuli responded that he had feelings for the hero. Hermana responded to Daphne's question about who he liked by saying that he also liked the heroes. He explained that he liked the heroes because they were powerful, they successfully defeated the demon, and they brought peace to the empire along with the goddess. After that, he recalled the time when they were standing outside the window and watching Daphne win the battle against the demon Floa. He was impressed by how she triumphed over the adversary. As a result, he desired to achieve the same level of strength as the heroes in the legend. It was also his hope that one day he would vanquish the demon. Nevertheless, he stated that it was when he was a child and that it was not the case at the present time. He was well aware that it was nothing more than a myth. On the other hand, Daphne stated that it was an unbelievable dream. Despite the fact that she had never considered the possibility of wanting to save the world, Hermana aspired to be a hero. More than anyone else, this indicated that Hermana already possessed the characteristics necessary to be a hero. Nevertheless, Yuli interjected and inquired about the means by which he could become a hero in the absence of a goddess. According to him, a hero is someone who assists the goddess in defeating the devil. However, since there is no goddess and no evil in the world at the moment, he cannot be considered a hero. The statement that Hermana was just imagining was made with a hint of embarrassment. While this was going on, Daphne placed her hand on Yuli's head and told him that she was not present at the moment, but that if he did something wrong, the evil would start to manifest once more. Yuli became frightened and declared that he would not engage in destructive behavior. In addition to this, she informed him that witches are on the side of the devil, which allowed her to conjure a devil. In all honesty, this frightened Yuli. Daphne, on the other hand, assured him that he did not need to be afraid because in the event that a devil appeared, the goddess would also appear, and then their hero would have the opportunity to shine when the devil appeared. As a result of this, Hermana was filled with joy, and he declared that he would save his brother. Yuli felt a little embarrassed as a result of the fact that he assisted her in standing up. On the other hand, Yuli believed that Hermana might be reserved due to the fact that he was still his older brother. After Daphne had finished reading all of the books that she had wanted to read, she made the decision to go back to the place where she was staying. As an additional point of interest, the twins have indicated that they will be traveling alongside her on this journey. However, Daphne informed them that they did not need to pay attention to her and that they could continue doing whatever they were doing. She also told them that they could continue doing whatever they were doing. In spite of this, they insisted that they had finished their education with flying colors. Daphne was under the impression that the first version of the story portrayed her as having a distant relationship with her twin brothers. This was the impression that she had. If, on the other hand, they were her younger brothers, then the circumstance would be different. If they were, in fact, quite adorable and naive, then it is difficult to comprehend why they would say something like that. Determining whether or not Daphne would visit the library again in the future was a question that Hermana posed to her. According to her statement, she was unaware of the situation, and it was possible that she would not show up. Due to the fact that this caused him to experience a slight sense of depression, he inquired as to whether or not she would be coming any quicker. After Daphne became aware of the fact that they desired for her to return, she stated that she would come back occasionally, even if it was not very frequently. But Daphne said that there were some conditions and that they had to call her Nuna, which means elder sister in Korean culture. However, Yuli does not like it and says, "Who would dare to call a witch their oldest sister?" Daphne decides to play with him and says that the word witch keeps being heard and wonders if the devil is calling her. Daphne says that number 2 will never call her that, so what about Imrano? Will he call her Nuna? Their faces show that they are troubled. It seems best not to teach them too much, or they will hate her again. Imrano finally calls her elder sister and asks if she will come here again. The real cannot believe how cute they are and says that she will come again. The twins ask her to come again tomorrow. Then Daphne suddenly realizes there is no class tomorrow. Considering the matter, Daphne asks, "Isn't it the class final right now? Isn't there a class today?" The twins say they do not want to go to class because it is boring and they have learned everything, so there is nothing more to learn. Daphne wonders if something is wrong. Just then, a servant comes with a master and says that it is well past time for the master's class and asks if it would be acceptable to take them now. If today's class is missed, there will be trouble. The servant also asks if something else is needed from the twins. It is stated that the kids have been kept until now. However, the twins say they got caught because they were with the witch. The servant tries to correct them, saying that calling the lady a witch is a bad habit. The greatest thinking could be that they have helped her act out of character. The good one notices the time and says that it is already late, so she needs to go. Meanwhile, at Wayne District, the shopkeeper says to a man that this price is really being charged. The price is outrageous, especially since it is an illegal operation. However, the man says, "Is it wrong to charge a fair price per product?" and questions the shopkeeper's response. This makes the shopkeeper angry, and he says what he is talking about. This makes the man scared, and he agrees to pay, then leaves the shop. The shopkeeper is considering quitting. Another man enters the shop and asks the shopkeeper, Gale, why quitting is being considered. Gale is glad to see his master and asks why he looks upset when the transaction was successful. The master says it is fortunate. Gale asks when the master arrived. The master says arrival occurred before Gale mentioned quitting because it was too much. The master and owner of the shop is none other than the Duke of the Magic Tower, Luciel. It is a source of concern for Gale that Luciel has observed everything. He inquired with a voice that was shaking as to whether or not Luciel had just returned from the Magic Tower. An individual had pleaded with him to come, claiming that they were on the verge of passing away, so he went to verify whether or not it was true. Luciel, on the other hand, checked with this occupier to see if there were any new orders. Inform him that there is an order for a love potion, but that it is difficult to make, and that it is not Luciel's preferred area, so it is on hold. If you are keeping it, you should tell him that the order is on hold. Gale is instructed by Luciel to quickly fulfill the request. According to him, the human senses are naive. They frequently confuse feelings of excitement and fear with feelings of love. Therefore, if they hang two people upside down in the air together, it is possible that they will fall in love more quickly than they would with any potion. When Gale considers the fact that his master is an expert in murder, he believes that it makes perfect sense. Any other interesting news? Luciel has a question. Gale shares with him that he gained knowledge of Lady Peregrine's attempt to take her own life by means of poison following the dissolution of her engagement. According to the rumors, she is in fact head over heels in love. However, Gale inquires of Luciel whether or not he will be departing today. Luciel reveals to him that he is keeping a close eye on him because he is concerned that he might actually consider quitting. While Luciel is looking through the records of the shop, he discovers that his uncle has brought in an antidote from their shop. Luciel says that he will just rest in his room, and while he is doing so, he gets the news. Luciel is of the opinion that the lady has at least one member of her family who is acceptable. In addition to this, he says that she is such a pitiful woman, but that it is fortunate that her family is still together. On the other hand, he is unable to comprehend the significance of love. Then, completely out of the blue, he experiences a magical power reflux. Despite the fact that he does not like anesthesia herbs, he is unable to prevent it from happening. In an unexpected turn of events, Gale enters Luciel's room and informs him that Daphne has requested a meeting with him in conjunction with a commercial transaction. Luciel utters the words, "What a woman she is." He asks Gale to decline this offer and inform her that he is unavailable due to the fact that he is currently residing outside of the city. For the time being, Luciel is of the opinion that the relic that Daphne is searching for on the black market is a fake, and therefore it is best not to purchase it. Gale, on the other hand, claims that Daphne has sought to communicate with him about something. Finally, Luciel decided to meet Daphne and ask what brought her here today. He also asked how she knew that he was looking for the sacred artifact and how she knew that it was a fake. Daphne, placing the sofa opposite, must be a courtesy for the guest to sit. Luciel said he was in a bit of a hurry and apologized for his rudeness. Luciel offered her tea and said it was specially made for their guests. But Daphne told him to drink it first because how could a guest drink comfortably when the host had not taken a sip? Luciel said it seemed that she had done quite a bit of research about his shop. Daphne was thinking that he had put a truth serum in it. She wondered why she was on edge, because this person opposed the true main lead, the Crown Prince, the final boss who sought to destroy this world. He was the villain. True to being the villain, there was not much information about him in the original novel. However, she remembered the basic fact that he was the owner of this shop and intended to destroy the world by breaking the sacred artifact. Daphne reminded herself not to be scared. Compared to high-pressure job interviews in a capitalist society, this was nothing. There was nothing in the tea. Daphne thought that the original novel did not describe his appearance much, so she did not know, but the mastermind was surprisingly fit. Luciel drank the whole cup of tea and asked Daphne if she believed him now. Luciel asked her what brought her here. Daphne was thinking there were 2 reasons why she secretly came here even while on probation. She asked Luciel if he could confirm if this drug was made here. Daphne wanted to know the source of the poison she had drunk. No matter how much she recalled her memories, there was no recollection of making the poison. This meant someone else was likely to have given her the poison. She thought that Luciel was not someone who would take on troublesome requests. Luciel apologized and said that it was not made by them, even though they do create various things, but they are very cautious about taking assassination requests. Daphne was disappointed and thought about what to do now. However, Luciel told her that he had seen this bottle before. Daphne asked him if he knew the seller. Luciel replied that this design was primarily used by the Assassination Guild. He had heard they differentiated their clients by the color of the bottle and the cork stopper. The cost of an assassination request was a fortune that even nobles struggled to afford, so it was likely that a high-ranking noble requested this. Daphne thought that there was no guarantee that this assassination request would be the last. She had to make the most of this second life and find out who was behind this, no matter what. Daphne asked Luciel if he could find out who had ordered this poison. Luciel apologized and said that it would be difficult. The Assassination Guild was not associated with him, and he did not wish to be involved in this matter. But Daphne reminded him that she had saved him the time he would have wasted on the fake artifact. She said, "Time is money, so a deal should be fair after all." However, Daphne thought that she must get his help. If she went to the Assassin's Guild herself, they might kill her, and if she sent a servant, her uncle would not like it. So this was her only option, finding the death flag through the villain in the original story. The villain and the head of the underworld were depicted as close associates. So the claims of no connection must be a lie. She had come this far, she could not back down.